What's up, everybody? This is Ricardo Rodriguez.
And Matthew Messick.
And this is
the Profits Over Wages podcast.
Welcome. This is episode 3 of the Profits Over Wages podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest today, Arpan Patel. He's an entrepreneur, active real estate investor, and a real estate broker. On today's episode, we talk about what to do and what not to do on your first deal, how to create a rental portfolio, and how to find private investors on sites like Facebook and BiggerPockets. Enjoy the show.
how did you end up in real estate? Like, what came before real estate? How'd you get started?
I started getting the bug back in college. So I'm an engineer by training, right? And so like any engineer does, they at some point turn math in their own lives, right? Just run numbers, right? That's what we do anyway. So I was making spreadsheets, right? About if I could retire and what I could retire with and how that would go, you know. And I just realized I wasn't going to be able to do that just on an engineering salary, you know. And so then I was like, okay, well, if I can't do it then, I got to pick up something on the side, right? So my mom's family, that whole side, they're all, both my parents are from India. They both immigrated at different points. One in the 70s, one in the 80s. And my mom's side has done they done very well for themselves, all the kids, the cousins, everybody, right? And so I was kind of asking them, hey, what did you do to get by? How, their stories essentially, right? And the basic pathway boiled down to two basic pathways, right? There wasn't very much crossover, very little, right? And so and they're all very well educated, right? They're all at least college, if not they're in medicine or law or whatever, right? I asked, so you either get educated, then specialize further, right? Get potentially great salary, whatever it is, and then you sock it away to the market, right? Just let it grow there. Or you still get educated, but then you go work in a business that you think you can probably learn the model and then start doing it yourself, and then take that extra money and sock it into real estate. So there wasn't really that much of overlap. Not a lot of people who had stock had real estate, other than their own houses kind of deal. There wasn't a lot of guys who had their money in real estate or businesses that had stock. It just wasn't a model, right?
It was just one or the other.
Yeah, it was really just one or the other. So I decided to do both, right, essentially. So I started trading options in college and a little bit afterwards. And then I started doing little tax liens out in New York, right? Because I was school in upstate New York at the time. And so then when I got back, my buddy, who was I was in high school, or I went to middle school with, he had 3 rentals already. And I was like, if you can do it, I could do it, So I just kind of teamed up with him, because he's never a kid that was really good at school. He was just always he was like a street kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
those are usually the best people to run a business sometimes.
Yeah, no.
Because they got they have a lot more hustle than anything.
They have a lot of drive and they're able to make quick decisions.
Kind of a little segue, but I have this cousin who has no formal education, I think he barely finished high school, if that.
Okay.
Or the equivalent in our country, right?
Okay.
He moved here, I think, 10 years ago, and somehow that motherfucker just doesn't even speak English, dude.
Yeah.
Just makes tons of money.
Yeah, sure.
Just doing the randomest things.
Somehow
he ended up owning 2 mechanic shops and a car dealership, and it's this guy doesn't even have high school degree. It's the craziest thing. But this dude, he can't stay quiet. He can't. He'll come over just to say what's up. He wouldn't be there if we weren't doing anything. Just sitting down talking. He'd just leave immediately. He can't. He's one of those people that can't sit down for more than 10 minutes. It's so fucking weird. But anyway, like I was saying, sometimes those people, people like that have some crazy drive and they just know how to make money. Even if they don't have a formal education, somehow they just figure it out and through pure, I guess, power of will or however it is.
They have to because they don't have another choice.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing, right? Wasn't that one general who burned all his ships?
It was in the Think and Grow Rich book, I think it was.
I think someone it was some expedition that went to South America, right?
I can't remember.
I think it was South America. And he burned all the ships. He's like, well, what do you want to do now? Like,
It's either we win this war or
I know what story you're talking
We're not
about,
going
but I
back
can't
anywhere.
remember which exact battle it was.
I know, like another like Japanese general did the same thing. He backed his troops up like towards Mount Fuji. He's like, you can go up there, or you can work your way back down. Like, you know, like,
jump off the cliff and fight.
yeah.
Usually, when you don't have a choice, that's like when you push as hard as you can.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I did that, and then teamed up with him. Did my first project. It was a disaster, complete nightmare. Lost a lot of money. Went through a bunch of partners, like in and out, like revolving door partners, revolving door contractors. Village.
How did you end up doing real estate? Like, what was your path into it? Because I know a lot of people, they sign up for, whether it's fortune builders or rich dad, poor dad, or they just start reading books.
So I went to this vocational thing, like Nouveau Riche was called at the time.
Right.
I think it's called Renas now, but they had some it was good education. The marketing around it's kind of weird, but the education's dope. So went to that with my dad, and then my buddy Charlie was also in it. So we kind of learned together.
Right.
But
nice.
So you took that education, and then that's how you essentially got your first,
Yeah. Like it does teach you like some of the basic stuff,
Yeah.
Anyway. So it was
it teaches you in the classroom, but then you still got to go out and do it and get that real life experience.
Right. There you go. That's the hang up.
Yeah, because we've done we've done things like that,
mm-hmm.
and what I noticed is that it teaches you all the basic stuff.
Right.
But when it comes to dealing with things like the city or the village, those are things that you kind of figure out you got to figure out on your own anyway. And also just going to like different boot camps and all that. You always pick up something here and there. Right.
Well, like once the basics are done, like it's not by fire hose anymore. So then when you go to like these things, you can just listen for like the one or two things a day that you might get out of it.
Right.
Like, the rest of it you already kind of know. So you kind of tune out a little bit. But when you don't know any of it, let's like drink out of a fire hose.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember at first when I first went to a boot camp on using self-directed retirement plans to invest in real estate. It's just mind blowing. Like the stuff that you can do. Yeah, not only that, but like the tax stuff and all that is just the first time you hear it, it's pretty awesome. But anyway, so what was your first deal like, I guess?
Oh, it was a nightmare. So we bought this place. It was a historic district in Aurora. And we bought it from a wholesaler. Wholesaler charges us like a decent fee.
The numbers that the wholesaler gave you, did you like take those and you're like, okay, these seem accurate? Or did you like dive more deep in the extent of wholesaler numbers kind of off a lot of times?
Well, because they've never done a rehab, so it's like, some have never done a rehab.
Right.
But also when you're selling to somebody who's never done a rehab, then you're like, okay, well, these numbers look good.
Because we got started wholesaling, and now that I think back to some of the deals that were wholesaling and some of the rehab estimates, I was off for at least like $50,000.
Yeah.
And some of them, and it's, if you don't have a construction background, if you've never actually done this, and you don't actually reach out to people, to come and give you a bid, you really have no freaking idea.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, like I don't know why. That's my one like kind of gripe sometimes is like, why do people recommend like people starting off to be wholesalers, right?
I think it's just a low risk.
So I get that, right? But it's kind of like so it's probably easier to build a doghouse than a house, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but like if you still can't hammer, it doesn't matter which house you're trying to build.
Right.
Right? Like, neither one's going to get done right. You know what I'm saying? So, I get the fact that it's less risk, right? But actually, like, it's a lot harder, right? Like, there's way more time invested in it, I think, right? Also, your estimates, you have no basis for them. And everyone looks at you with, like a cockeye. Because everyone's like, yeah, we'll see about those rehab numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. Like,
do that.
So, I guess, instead of, talking shit about it, I think what I would advise somebody who wants to get started wholesaling and to get a hold of better like the rehab estimates. There's a few websites like HomeWise has pretty accurate numbers on estimating both labor and repair costs. Another thing that I would say would be for people to get estimates from actual contractors, but not just call them and, have them give an estimate for free because you're wasting their time.
Yeah.
At least be upfront with them and tell them, hey, like, I might not, like, I'm actually not doing the rehab, but I'll pay you for your time, right? Because sure, like, when you first get started, wholesaling is super attractive because you don't really have to put in a lot of money out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean you don't have to put anything. If you give a contractor at least, money to cover their, at least the 2-3 hours that they're going to spend on giving you an estimate, and that way you could get more accurate repair numbers. I think that would really help. Yeah. Not only on getting an idea of what things cost, but getting an actual estimate to the people you're trying to wholesale it to.
Yeah. So a little bit of a chicken and egg there, right? Like, because you want to lock this deal up with somebody, right? But you're going to do it based on certain numbers that you think is right. But then you go back and like try and get the actual rehab numbers and you might have been off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I always steer people away from doing wholesale.
It's weird.
That's what I always say.
Right.
I think wholesale works really well if you're already doing your thing. There's a couple extra deals that come through you just can't really take advantage of.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, look, I can't do these. Like, someone else can do it, right? Like that seems to work really well. And people will believe your stuff, right?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, you actually do rehabs, like you know what you're doing.
Right. So that's one other thing. I just wish people would save a bit more money by having more reserves and then go after something for themselves first and then start.
Well, I feel like the best first deal to do is actually like, with the, like house hacking where you just get like a duplex or 3 flat and live in one, rent out the other 1 or 2. And then you're taking care of your monthly payment that you're going to pay for rent or mortgage somewhere else anyways. And then, if one of the units needs a little fixing up, you get that experience of like hiring a contractor and you're already there on site. So it's, easy to do.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of property management experience. You kind of get your feet wet and then, you have your income and, helps build your credit and whatnot. I feel like that's kind of like the best. And then also like a lot of lenders cap you out at, 4 rentals. So I mean, that's the one thing that I wish I would have done, before I left my job was that, when you have the W-2 income and the credit, and, get 4 rentals under your belt first, and then maybe go into, a flip or, even if you want to wholesale, like, kind of get like do real rehab in real life, so the numbers. But yeah, also, for instance, when you're doing a flip, if you already have some rental money coming in, that can help you with the holding costs, or if things go sideways, you need more money. And then, you might have equity in some of those rentals at that point. Which is kind of crazy because when we started off, we totally wanted to do the opposite. We're like, oh yeah, we'll do wholesales first. Then until we build up enough capital, then we'll do our first flip. Then we'll do a few flips and we'll put that money into a rental and then we'll have rentals. Yeah. And then actually our first 2 deals were wholesale deals, but then when we went like full time, like, okay, let's do this. The first 2 deals that we ended up having were both rentals. Oh, yeah. Which were just kind of came out of nowhere. Weird, yeah. But that definitely helped us like along the way.
That's what I end up telling people to do too, is like get a house hack, get some rentals first.
It makes sense too, man, because if this is what you want to do in the long term, house hacking can pretty much reduce your expenses, right? Like you might even make money and or at least break even on your mortgage. Yeah. But I guess kind of going back into your first deal. Oh yeah. How did you find out about the wholesale deal? Did you
just through the networks? Like some guy had known some other guy who had bought a house or something like that, and I knew him. So it's like through the
where'd you get that deal? Yeah. And then he's referred you to the wholesaler, and then you got one of him, kind of thing.
Yeah. Through the grapevine kind of deal.
Gotcha. So then you said it was Aurora Historic District. Yeah. What were the numbers? What were the original numbers? Do you remember?
Man, it's been a while, but I think we bought it for like $65. I want to say something like that. It was $8,000 wholesale fee. So and then
wait, $80,000 wholesale fee?
8.
No, 8. Oh, I was gonna say.
No. Yeah, that's not that. But
it's like no wonder I didn't.
I've heard of $100,000 wholesale fees, but yeah, and this place it was very rare.
Yeah, no, it's not. So and we did like it needed like kind of everything. The floors were good, but it needed like new kitchen, bathroom, upstairs were like gutted, right? So yeah.
Do you remember what the wholesaler's estimate was on the rehab?
Yeah, he said it would be. I think he said $15,000 in labor, and 20 grand materials. So I think he's 35 grand now.
Wait, and there's a gut?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
What is
so dumb back then. I was so dumb.
What did the final numbers end up being?
Well, because we went through 4 contractors.
Yeah, so I guess kind of tell us the whole story, right?
Okay, so
because like people, I'm always like, your first deal is always gonna be dog shit, no matter how much you're prepared, right? Like I feel like everybody's and anybody's first deal is always gonna suck somehow.
Oh, it did for sure.
The funny thing I think is that our first wholesale deal that we wholesaled, we put the rehab at 50, but then we actually got some contractors in there and got one bid at 60, but that was a gut. So now I feel bad for whoever bought that one because I feel like those numbers are off too.
But anyway, what we're saying? Shit.
Oh, the deal. So, so I think we went for like 65. I think we ended up putting, I don't know how, I remember we were all in at 180. So we put like 120 in it, like, something like that. Well, the closing cost a lot, right? So, probably 120 in it. And then we sold it for 120. Yeah,
120 for a gut rehab for like a smaller house sounds realistic to me now.
Yeah, exactly. And this was also a turn of the century house, right? And so the basement cracked while we owned it. There's two. So the kitchen's set below like the master bathroom, and there's 2 separate leaks on the master bathroom. How we knew there's 2 separate leaks is because the kitchen caved in twice, right? just the drywall just fell down. Yeah, and like so we found one leak. We thought it was that. We fixed it, put the ceiling back up. And it came down again. We found another leak somewhere else.
What was it?
One of them was like the sink. So the piping had the wall that led to the sink was not soldered well. So it was coming out of there. And then the second one was like the tub.
But that was not your guys' fault. That was just pre-existing. Like
No. Like so, my first contractor had to do plumbing.
So he didn't do it correctly.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So
how did
that
it pass
happens.
inspection though?
Huh?
How did it pass inspection?
I don't know. Sure did.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could look fine, but then if you did it bad, like when it was.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I feel like that happened to one of our rentals where it's like, you put that like the liquid cement or whatever around the pipes, and then it just ends up leaking at some point. They didn't do like enough.
Right. But anyway, so you went through 4 contractors.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first guy stole. He stole half the material. So anytime we had a Menards or Home Depot delivery, he would just take half of it from his truck and leave. And I only learned about that because he started stiffing some of his subs. So they started calling me to ask for payment, right? And I'm like, I don't know who you are. He's like, I know you don't, but I just want to let you know that I'm on your side about this. All this crap's going down. I'm like, well, what's going down? He's like, oh, you didn't know he was taking half your material? I was like, no. He's like, right, so we did that. But if you can get me paid, I was like, okay, this is getting weird. So, but he would steal a lot of the material. He had a project not far away, so he was using it for that.
Right? Can you actually move the mic to the other side? Because I feel like it's kind of hitting your. Just clip it on the other side of your shirt.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. So I don't want to get any rubbing against your side of your shirt. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so
And then what happened? You just let him go, fired him, or...
Yeah, that was a whole fiasco in and of itself. And then, so we finally got rid of him. We went through, I think 4 or 5, large change orders. Because, I didn't know how to get bids. His original bid didn't even have lights in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Stuff and I would go down his list, this is done, this is done, this is not done. You know what I'm saying? But, I wasn't doing very good scopes of work back then,
Right.
So anyway, that happened. Then we had a guy who was a partner. He brought in the next 2 guys. So both guys were working on the project for him, but they were doing this as a favor to keep that cost not kind of deal.
Right.
So you can't really enforce a favor.
So they would do it on the weekends kind of thing.
Yeah, whenever they showed up kind of deal.
After their main projects, show up at 4 or 5 p.m., work 3 hours, and then 5 on the weekends kind of thing.
Yeah. That's if they would come on the weekends. Yeah. So those guys obviously didn't get that. Mind you, at the same time, me and Charlie were working on the house ourselves. We're making the trim. We're helping laying tile, carpet. You know what I'm saying? We're doing that kind of stuff. So then finally, it just wasn't going anywhere, and there's something that we just couldn't do. So we finally hired a guy at the very end, who I would still work with today, but just doesn't
and
work
he
in the
finished the house.
Yeah, he finished the house, yeah. So it was kind of, and then the city shut us down twice. We had to go to court twice for that house because the city shuts down and the historic preservation trust shuts down too.
What they shut you down for?
They just didn't like certain things that we were doing, or it was taking too long.
Like they weren't historically accurate. Kind
yeah, like they wanted the balconies to be completely redone so it could be tongue and groove versus the way we laid it. We bought it this way, and they're like, yeah, we don't care. So like
I feel like every time you do something in a historical district, it's always a pain in the ass unless you actually know what you're doing.
Did you know it is in that district when you bought it?
I knew it was in Georgia when I bought it. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool. I thought it was a sales feature.
Yeah, right. You didn't know it was going to be
It sounds cool.
Yeah, I didn't know they'd be like that. I thought there'd be a little bit of sticklers, right? I get it. Like they're trying to preserve stuff. Like people are gonna be sticklers about preserving. Right. I get that, right? But I didn't think they'd be this aggressive. You know what I'm saying? They're insanely aggressive.
Yeah, we have. I know somebody else who has done like stuff in the historical district in Oak Park.
Okay.
And they had to do like an actual presentation to the building department or the historical people. Well, what they were going to do with the house, like a PowerPoint with like all the features of the house. That's even before they got permits. Like it took like an extra 2 months just because they had to present. I mean, it's also Oak Park.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's very
it's very particular.
Yeah. We're talking about like that area. 10 years, 20 years ago in Aurora was like red light district. So like no one really cares.
So I guess kind of going over that, for somebody who's trying to do the first deal, what would you advise them not to do or to do better based on how your first deal went?
You just got to be able to like assess, So what I always tell people like getting new, right, is that you're always going to be a natural disadvantage to a contractor, right? Like they know code, they know how to do it, they know what they generally have to do, right? And so just if you're a construction background, then fine, great. You know what I'm saying? Like you're way ahead of everyone else that's like new. But like generally just, find someone else who's done a rehab before, probably work with them or have them involved in some way. You know what I'm saying? And then kind of go from there because it can be really tough managing contractors. Like that's
you don't know.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part.
I agree. I think it actually is the hardest part in my opinion.
So either work with somebody who's got a construction background, either partner with them or at least give them a little bit of equity so they help you out or something like that.
Something like that. Just get someone else involved. However you want to do that, right? However you want to get them involved, but get them involved, right?
And it doesn't matter if it reduces your profit. Because when you think about it, it'll save your ass in the back end.
Well, the first 3 deals you're doing for experience anyways. You're not so much trying to make all the money you can, but...
Yeah.
Well, we say that ourselves because we learned a lot from our first few deals. But somebody who's never done one, they're actually when you first started, like you're actually doing it for the profit, right? But then like Matt said, I think now it's more your first maybe 2 or 3 are to really fine tune things and kind of start setting a system for your future deals. So I guess that's one: either finding somebody who has a construction background. Or, like you said, if you have a construction background, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Let's see, another 2 things that you learned from your first deal to pass on to somebody else.
Like, just please get multiple bids, right? Like, get 10 bids in the beginning. I don't care. Like, do not just get 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, get a bunch of bids. Because you'll learn even through the bidding process, like what guys are thinking or how they count things, and you start picking out like, okay, if 9 of the guys are like, hey, it's gonna be 100 sheets of drywall, and the 10th guy's like, oh, it's like 200 sheets of drywall. You're like, okay, bye. Like that half that's going in your truck. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, so like things like that. Like just
get on average. Volume. Get on average.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like get a lot of bids and get an average because you don't know what a good number is to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then the last thing I would say is like, understand like whatever you think your worst case scenario is, it's worse than that. It's a lot worse than that. Because like people think like, oh yeah, like at worst I'll be like 20% over budget, right? Like no, at worst you might be 200% over budget. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have like reserves. You know what I'm saying? Do like what if you can swing it, just do your first deal all cash if you can, right?
$15,000 top, like
small rehab tiny, right? I would even say in the first few years, like don't do rehab, just buy it, rent it out. But like if you're gonna do rehab, like minimal stuff, right? And then have
paint,
twice
maybe refinish the floors, new appliances, little stuff,
right? So like and have if you think it's 15 grand, make sure you have 30 grand in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Just in case something comes up. Like, not having cash reserves will, like, stretch you out far. And if you have financing and you have no reserves, and you get stretched out, like, you're really complicating things.
Right. Even more so if you're using hard money where...
Oh, God, Dad. Please do not use any hard... If you guys are listening, please do not use any hard money for your first deal. Like, don't do it. It's just not a good idea. What?
We'll use hard money for our first 4 deals.
I know. Well, that's actually what kind of saved me in the beginning was that I didn't use hard money in the beginning.
Ours would have been probably worse.
Dude, like, that project, like, I think 2 years, that first one.
Yeah, because usually if it's a 6-month term loan, it'll probably jump to 20% at that 6-month mark.
And then you have a year, like, I would have had another year and a half of it at the 20% mark. Like, that's just, it's brutal. Like, interest rate is brutal. If you're on the other side of that, interest rate's great. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great. But, like, dude, if you can avoid having any, like, just have a like JV agreement, whatever it is, right? But do not have any loan. Like, if you can, avoid it, right? Avoid it hard because it'll kill you.
So after the first deal, you said you started working with the fourth contractor that you hired, and is that what you started partnering on with at the time, or
no? I don't think I've worked with him since. I just don't work in the areas that he works in now.
Oh yeah. Because he said he works in like Addison and you're more in the south suburbs.
Yeah, exactly. So I've tried to get him out there a lot of times.
It's far, man.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for not going. I get it. Like he's happy with his crew. He said, doesn't he want any extra business? He's like good, So.
So moving on to like the deals that follow that first one, were they similar deals or?
I mean, they're all flips, right?
Did you stay at that level? Or you're like, I'm going to do something smaller now.
Yeah, for sure. Less complicated. So the second deal we did, so I took a break. I took like probably a year off in the middle there. Like I was kind of looking for something, but I was just so burnt out.
It's exhausting, man. Even more when things are not going great. It's just
it was tough, man.
Got to regroup.
Yeah. So then, found a deal with these two other guys, like Charlie and then this other guy we were partner with. And the other guy brought the deal. He's supposed to handle construction, Charlie would handle marketing. I would handle the money side of things. So that project took like a year, I'm getting all sorts of like weirdness about like where money's being used for and where, what I'm saying? Some money looked like it started changing hands into different contracts, same contract for different projects, So like it just, that wasn't good. And then at the very end of it, he just wasn't getting it done. So I actually had to go there and with my current partner. We had to go into that house and like kind of redo the backsplash a little bit, redo a couple things in that house so it could get sold,
Yeah.
And so that was like circa 2015, like very early on 2015. And then it was kind of like we did a couple more test runs and then it was kind of off the race in 2015, 2016.
And then that's when you started working with your current partner now.
Correct. Yeah, it was 2015.
And now it's been mostly It was mostly flips.
Yeah.
A lot of because you work in the south suburbs of Chicago, so it's mostly. What's the price range down there like for the ARVs?
So we started in like the 160, 200 kind of range for the first couple. Then it was like the mid 200s, and then we started playing in the mid 3s, upper 3s.
Okay.
So that's where we are now.
There's like Orland Park.
No. So it's all like Homewood, Flossburg, where we flip, and then we have rentals like around that general area.
Because right now you're mostly transitioning to rentals. Right?
Yeah.
How many rentals do you have now?
9.
Yeah. And they're all single family?
Yeah. Yeah, we bought them all since like March.
And then how do you finance those? Like, do you use cash? Do you get conventional money?
So we do the burr strategy. So we have hard money. I know. We have hard money on the front end for the purchase rehab, and then the investor puts in a bit of money, right? And then we split the deal equity wise. So there's no debt out there, essentially, right? But when the refinance comes through, it cleans out the hard money and it cleans off the investor money.
So basically, you have an investor put down, say, the money for the down payment and like some other costs, and then you guys fix it up, rent it out. Then refinance, they get paid off, the hard money gets paid off, and you guys split everything like 50-50.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, the rehab's a lot smaller, so if you're 20-30% of a budget, it's 2-3 grand.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
and you get the money back eventually because the rental is not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's a steadier model. Like I don't like flipping. Like it's hard if you have a flipping business. You really should be doing at least 2 closings a month. You know what I'm saying? Like to actually do it properly, because then you have cash flow, right? The problem with flipping is if you're below that level, which a lot of guys are going to be at the right. So I am, right. So when you're below that level, cash flow is a problem because it comes in huge chunks, but
very far. From
and randomly. Like you might have, like I had 2 closings in a week, and I look like I was, you know, a Shah. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, the next week I'm a pauper again. You know what I'm saying? Like. You know, so it's tough. You know, it's a tough model for cash flow. So like rentals.
Sure. Was that the reason why? Is that the reason why you switched to rentals, or you just like it better?
So there's a lot of reasons why. Like if you're like 20% of a budget on a flip, when you know put $100,000 up for, I mean that's a lot of money, right? You're also 20, 30 grand. If you're like 100% of a budget, it's $100,000 out. You know what I'm saying? Like the numbers are larger, so the risk is heavier.
Right. Yeah, because rentals, for them to actually work, for the numbers to work, they're always at a smaller scale, like the house prices.
Exactly. So like,
plus the finishes don't have to be like super high end.
Also true, right? So like you're not spending a lot of money for these things. You're also getting steady money coming in. You make them essentially like bomb proof essentially, like like you can hose it down, it's good to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're easy to rent out too, and you get income coming in immediately. Whereas when you're flipping, you got to get it on the market. You have to have it perfect, and sometimes it sits if you have it overpriced, or some of the contracting work was not done well enough.
Yeah, that's
the rentals are a lot. You get the money back.
That's the thing too about flips too. Like you're saying is that just generally in real estate, right? Like I was thinking about this the other day. Like a lot of industries, for instance, if you're writing a book, right? If you're a writer, right? And, it's easy to test run your ideas out on some other blog and, see how essentially the public would take that, right? And, refine it and that kind of stuff, right? With real estate, you kind of have to have it all done, and then before you get your first wave of feedback.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no
MVP or minimum viable product per se.
Right, exactly, yeah. Right? So there's nothing you can, get feedback on until it's done, right? From the general public. Because really all you do then is trusting other designers or whatever else people say.
Yourself.
Yeah, or yourself, right? So, but you're not going buying it, right? So, it's just, that has to get, sorted out. I think the kind of people that can sort those kinds of issues out, right, are the guys that can learn quicker. And if they can learn on, a shorter iteration time frame, then they can, have that much better of a model.
Right. Because a lot of the time you sink a year into a project and it might not be that great.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So for these rentals, can you kind of go over the numbers and kind of what the BRRR strategy is?
Yeah.
Burr.
So we pick them up for 60, or thereabouts, less or more, whatever. We put maybe 20, 30 grand in rehab.
Okay.
So we'll be up somewhere around 85, 80, something like that. The houses are worth 130 to ish, around there. So we can usually pull out about 90,
Because you're pretty much going off of what you can refinance at, right? Which is what's the LTV that they...
I aim at 70%, right? Or lower, right?
Right.
Guys will lend you up to 75, 80, but I don't want it. I'd rather keep a little bit of equity in that house in case, things go sideways or whatever with the market.
Yeah, of course.
And then what do they rent out for?
$1,500 or better.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So
and then the lender you work with, do they require seasoning? Do you have to have them rented for 30 days, 6 months, a year? Because I know a lot of lenders do that.
Yeah, most of them do. It was really kind of hard finding these kinds of lenders, but yeah.
So they don't require any seasoning at all. You just whenever you're done with the rehab, you can just refinance whether it's rented or not, or does it have to be rented at least?
If it's not rented, my lender will then decrease the loan to value that they're willing to lend on, but they'll still do it. They'll do it about 5%. They're instead of 70, we'll do it at 65. I'm like, okay,
Is it a local bank or?
No. I'm using a broker out of California.
Would you mind sharing it?
Yeah, I can share it with you.
You want to put it in the link notes?
We can do that.
Show notes kind of thing?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Her name's Normina, but she's cool.
Wait.
Awesome.
You said Armina?
Yeah, guessing back there.
Yeah, I know who she is.
Okay.
Why is it funny?
What? So how do you? How long does it take to?
Answer later.
I'm like, why is it funny?
Yeah.
So I mean, we have 3 flats. So we rent out apartments, but like, so for a house, like, how is it any harder to rent it out, or how long is it? Like, when you get on the market, how quick do you find a renter for those?
One open house.
Really?
We never
Like
had
a week?
a second one. We got 5 rented that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's in the south suburbs.
Like I'm putting one on the market. I just put the listing up. I didn't take any photos yet because it wasn't quite done on Friday. So I'm taking photos tomorrow, and I'll probably schedule like an open house the following weekendish, and then I'll probably get a lease then.
Yes.
So it's pretty quick.
And then, like, what are the kind of like the duties? Like, do they take care of their own utilities, like their water?
Everything.
They like mow their own lawn, like. Okay.
Yeah. Ice.
Everything.
Show everything.
And then what expenses do you have? Just the PITI?
Mm-hmm. So we do 8 months vacancy. I'm sorry, 8% vacancy. It's basically a month's vacancy a year. What else we put in escrow? Oh, of course taxes, but like like you said, PITI. We also do 8% or 6% for capex and maintenance. We stock away, and then we do like anywhere from 8 to 10% management fee. We slide it down just we gotta make the cash flow work because I want to be above a certain debt coverage ratio.
Right.
Right. So I want to be above 1.2. So.
Well, you got to be for the lender, anyways, right?
I got to be for the lenders. Yeah, like they're not going to lend you. Some people like will lend you like at 1.0 or 1.1, right?
Yeah.
I don't, because you're not making money. I don't know why you do it, right? But like,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So and then so I always aim for 1.2. So actually, because sometimes things happen, right? So with all those escrows, I still aim at 1.2. So. If it's at 1.18, I'm saying I'll take a few extra bucks less on the management fee, and that's fine.
And then, so who manages the properties for you?
We do.
You do? Okay. Yeah. And then do you pay yourself at that fee, or is it just?
Yeah. But we tell the investors, like, they get a deal sheet, right? Same sheet every time. They get a deal sheet, like, address, numbers, everything that we anticipate,
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of rentals work. And then, it's a pretty, sane business model.
Yeah.
So.
And you still got to deal with the headaches of having tenants, but.
Well, that's the worst.
Well, because if it's like single family, they're like more, because they kind of almost feel like, ownership, right? Because they're the only ones there.
Do any of them ask you for these kind of like an option to buy in the back end, or
so
they're okay with just lending?
So remember, I asked you for the, I was asking you, right? So. But I met the guy and I was able to resolve it. At the end of the day, people just want to be heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, just treat people with respect and they'll respect you back, usually, right? We also, we do a good job with the rentals and we charge a high amount of rent, right? And so we get people that can pay that are quality tenants, and we don't just actually hear like that. So, we get quality tenants, right? And so, usually they just want to be heard. Like, hey, I believe that what I'm saying is correct, and here's why. And our job is basically to listen to it and be like, okay, here's what we believe though, and work with me somewhere in the middle. You understand? Like the guy, he had some maintenance stuff they want to get done, wasn't done exactly when he wanted it done, so he withheld payment. Right now that those things were done, right? Like we finished those items, but he's like, well, that's not on paper. I'm like, well, I'm just, I get why you want to hold us accountable to the lease, right? We have to do maintenance, and I agree. We should have done that, right? At the time that you designated, fine, right? However, now they are done, right? And your side of the lease, right, states that you would pay if we, to keep the lease good. Now, those things are done, let's work this out, right? You just kind of explain things like that, they get it.
Yeah.
So, and it works out pretty well, So you just gotta treat, tenants like people.
I think a better way to call them would be more, or treat them would be more like clients, or instead of just saying, I can feel like the word tenant has a bad connotation to it.
Yeah.
I feel like a better way to say it would be like a resident, or something like that. It's got a better term to it. And if you're if you have employees, I guess they would treat them a little bit better, I guess. Mm-hmm. No, but I guess I was asking, has any of them asked you if you would sell the house to them? Yeah, so that guy, right, who we had a little bit little I would say a little bumps in the road with, not a big deal. Because you asked us for the eviction form.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did, but I didn't send it. I just talked to the guy, so I just worked it out with him. And at the end of the conversation, he goes, but I really like the house. I'm like, I get it. He's like, can I buy it? And I was like, what? Like, we do like rent to own thing. I'm like, wasn't expecting that. So he's talking to his wife about it. I have to get some numbers and see if they'll buy it. So that'd be great, honestly.
I think it's a great strategy. At least with the option to buy.
Did you look into that of like how you might structure it?
Oh, I know exactly how to structure it. Yeah. So what I would do is a lot of people mingle the option into the like. I don't like that.
Oh yeah, you want the option completely separate.
Yeah.
Then otherwise it's looked at as like a down payment.
Yeah.
Right. So what I do is I guess I will be doing is and this is what I told him too at the time, that the option is completely separate than the lease. Okay. As long as the lease is in good standing, the option exists. The lease stops becoming in good standing. The option is like it disappears, like automatically. Right. The lease is not in good standing. There is no option. Right. And then the other thing is the option is not recordable. So you can't tie me up with like on title.
Right.
Right. Because you have a purchase agreement that's not recordable. Right. And the last thing is it's a non-refundable option fee, but I would count that towards the down payment. So if they give me like $5,000.
Oh, that's what you're saying, yeah.
Then at closing, like that's right.
Yeah, because what's attractive about that strategy is like you get paid up front, for the option fee. Then you get paid with the rents, and you get paid on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially get paid 3 times.
So I'm assuming that if you would sell it to them, you would sell it for what, the ARV or more than the ARV, since they're getting like kind of like an.
I put like maybe a little bit of appreciation in there, but not a lot. I won't put too much in there. Like it's also not a really quickly growing area, so I'm not really as worried about it.
What is he trying to buy? Like soon, or he didn't give you like a time frame?
Not any time either. My guess is like sort of when the lease is gonna expire.
Yeah.
Next year sometime. But because he like that's a lot of money in financing to finance figure out. So I don't know what his personal financial situation is. I mean, I ran his credit and stuff like that, right? So like that's fine. But I don't know what allows to the bank or anything like that. So.
What requirements do you do when leasing to like what are your leasing requirements?
Oh, okay. It's kind of case by case, right? So of course we have credit score minimums, that kind of stuff, right? But like honestly, we'll take people with a lower credit score if they can tell us like why they have it. Like some people are just like, oh, I was in a divorce and my husband wrecked my credit. Sometimes
you get fucked,
Yeah, right.
And it's not necessarily your fault.
Exactly, right? And so, like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, right now it would be easier for me to do that, right? And that'd be well within my rights to do that, right? It'd be easier for me to do it, but like, at the end of the day, like, people just sometimes need a bit of help. Yeah. No big deal. Like, shit happens. And I don't want to be that guy that just shuts every door. Like, I don't like that.
Well, you want to work with people.
Because people are people.
So do a background check, credit check, references.
Mm-hmm. I call their work. I call their past where they lived at. So I call everybody, right? Nice. And so if that all checks out, and like, yeah, you might have some credit issues. You might have, a background issue, right? So, like one dude, he had some issues come up when he was in his young 20s, right? Because he lived in a rough area. But like he's 45 now. He has no issues. He's a kid.
Total different person. It's like 25 years later.
Yeah, it's like, what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, life sucked growing up for you. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But like, you're not that guy today. And okay, fine. Like, understand that like I'm still, it's still a flag for me. Yeah. Right? But we can work this out. And as long as you don't give me any headaches, like, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, but just, if you start acting up, then, understand that the leash is shorter though. Right, because you do have some flags that went up.
Yeah.
So the lease is a little short. Not the actual physical lease, but like what I'm saying. Yeah. But
no, I mean, if you go through the whole lease and it works out and they want to renew, then then you renew it.
And he wanted the house and they took care of it and great. Like,
do you take care of all the maintenance, or do you like kind of like anything under 1,000 you take care of it, and anything
for
over 1,000?
I would do that.
Because I feel like
not for like
rental.
Regular.
No, yeah, that's what I was asking for a lease with the option to buy. Because I know that's what some people do. Like, anything under 1,000 while you're in that period, you take care of it. Anything over $1,000, I'll take care of it. Kind of situation.
Yeah, that's all. I try and do it as like whatever the water heater would cost me from the plumb, which is about 1,000, right? Like a little high, not a little high, but like whatever, right? Like that's about right. And so anything like a water heater or above, I'll take care of. Anything smaller than a water heater, you take care of. That's kind of how I frame it in their face. So if they're like, oh, I gotta hold my fence. I'm like, is it as big a job as a water heater? They're like, well, no. I'm like, okay. So.
Yeah.
You know?
On the fence.
That's how I frame it in their mind. Like, water heater above, I'll take care of that. But I'm not fixing the clock on the wall.
Yeah. Can you come change my light bulb?
Yeah, like, nah, half
I clog a toilet.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well then I guess your child has to be taught something different.
I know management companies are like, yeah, we'll change light bulbs, but it's $50 every light bulb we have to change. And they're like, what? Why? Like, because someone's got to drive out there, they got to change it, they got to drive back. So then that just makes them do it.
Right.
Or I remember, I was telling the story the other day. I had a roommate, and we had separate bathrooms, and then his bathroom was like, water was leaking from his bathroom onto my bathroom. Mm-hmm. And then someone came out, and what it was that he had an old school bathtub. So instead of just having like one shower curtain, you had to have like two on each side because it was like almost like a standalone.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't have enough shower curtain coverage to like have the water not come out. And the property management company like came and saw it, like, yeah, it's leaking because this asshole only has one shower curtain. They're like, just get another one. And then like, it happened again. So we called him again. They're like, end of the story, they basically came and installed a second shower curtain and charged him like $60. And he wanted me to like split it with him. I'm like, dude, it was your shower, like just buy a shower curtain like they told you.
It's like
they warned you, and I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
He could have easily done that himself.
Yeah. Like some of that stuff you're like, guys, come on, just take care of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not push for an option. If it's like a straight lease,
that's different.
It's a little different there, right? But like in an option, you're like, dude, you want to buy this house, you got to take care of it. You're gonna take care of it anyway. Like, so I put that right into the option.
Right. So I guess because you deal mostly with the finance side of your business, right? Because you have a partner, he does all the construction, you do all the finance. Kind of like how Matt and I split our duties similar, a little bit, yeah. So for funding these deals, you do most of the big chunk of the deal is hard money, right? Mm-hmm. But the other part is private money or an investor that you have.
Yeah. Multiple.
How do you structure these deals, I guess?
So how it was when I was doing flips, I kind of stopped doing flips, right? Because I don't want to do it anymore. When I was doing flips, it would just be like a straight, like debt. Just debt, right?
10, 12% or less, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you can negotiate. So
yeah. So I used to do 10% for 6 months. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So it's a good return. But on the rental stuff, because I just want any debt. I'm done with that. You know what I'm saying? Because the interest rate is killer. You know what I'm saying? On some of this debt. So,
if everything goes perfect, it's fine.
Yeah, but exactly. If everything goes perfect, it's fine.
Sure.
That's
once something happens, then that's when it screws you.
So, to self-finance, you would make that money back. That's money you get to keep, right? So, on the rentals, we still have hard money, but then we have, investors, and they get equity, not debt, right? So they have a piece of the properties. So that way I don't have to worry. I can sleep better about that. Yeah.
But are you guys so is that a JV agreement, or are you guys both in the same LLC that owns the property?
Yeah. So we have a series LLC concept, right? So each rental partnership has its own series. It's almost because I have some guys in California. This is really odd. I don't know if you know this or not, but in California, if they live in California, if they own any interest in any LLC or corporation that does business anywhere, they have to pay California $800.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So obviously this is
so
it's an Illinois company, right? But since they're members for it, they have to pay $800, right? So I don't want to do. Normally I would do every property gets its own series.
Yeah.
That's how I do the flips at least. But because of that, I just do every partnership has its own series LLC.
Okay.
And then they're half owners of that, and we're the half owners.
So with each different investor, you have a different series that owns however many rentals you have with each investor.
Yeah. Two for each rental. And then we have.
That saves you costs too.
Right? About
doing a bunch of different tax
returns. 2 deal minimum with these investors, right?
Yeah. So I have 9. So one guy's 1, and that was kind of like a. Yeah, it's 2 minimum, but he got 1. So whatever. It's 2 minimum though, but whatever. So I'm basically to help him out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And then I have 4 other rental partners, and they all have 2 piece.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And how did you find his investors? Was it referrals or?
Honestly, bigger pockets.
Just a lot of bigger pockets.
So
because I see that you're pretty active on there. Because
I'm sure more active.
I have alerts on bigger pockets, and anytime somebody mentions Chicago or for sale Chicago or the neighborhoods that we're targeting.
Yeah.
I get an alert on my phone, so it's like it's funny every time that somebody that I know posts, I always see it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So like half of the rental. So of the 5 investors on that side of the house, one's my dad. Right? One is like a friend of mine's cousin, and then there's 5 people, isn't there? Who's the other? Oh, one of them went to high school with, but I found him on Bigger Pockets. But I went to high school with him, and then 2 others are just completely don't know him, never met him before. People from Bigger Pockets.
So, how do you get them to invest with you? I guess would be the next question. Like, sure, you find them on Bigger Pockets, but did you put out a post that I'm looking for investors kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Did you post a deal, or was it just like, hey, I want to buy rentals? Who wants to buy them with me?
Essentially, yeah. And I gave him like a general deal outline. Like I buy them for I buy them for around this much in it. These are the construct of the deal. This is how much the rent is. This general stuff, right? And then I just talked to him on the phone about like, if you know what you're doing, like I one of the guys, I just met him maybe like a month ago.
Yeah.
But he invested in me back in March, right? So like I spent hours on the phone with this guy, right? So like I think he just liked the fact that I talked to him and I was just willing to answer any question he had. And he had a lot of them.
Or you could actually answer any question they had.
Oh, that too. Right? He had one question on me. I just didn't think about it. And he's like, "Oh, he's giving me an answer," and then next day I got an answer for that. So no big deal. But there's
just testing it.
So you just made a post on Big Pockets. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's what an actual deal might look like.
Yeah.
Contact me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then do they not have any issues with the 2 deal minimum? Because we've got one partner now that it's like, I want to do one with you first, and then after this one, if everything goes well, like I'll do a second one, or we'll do a 3 or 4 more kind of thing.
What I used to say to that is like, it's better to do 2 only because if things do go sideways, you keep a house, I keep the other house. Whatever the equity difference is, we just...
And you're also not asking for a ton of money either. No. So it's not like they're funding the entire deal. They're just funding whatever the down payment for the hard money.
And they get the
holding and closing?
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like... And these deals are not super big, so maybe they're putting $40,000.
I tell them $20,000 a house.
Yeah. Right. So you mean they shouldn't have an issue with doing 2, right?
Some people are like, I just want to do 1. I'm like, look, it's trust me, if things go sideways with what you're worried about, it's better to have 2. Right. So we can easily resolve this issue versus like somebody check and I got to chase that down. Right. It's for the hassle. If you're worried about downside management, it's better to just do 2 anyway. And secondly, if that one house is bad, one does really well, like you're still batting 500. Right? Now, I'm not aiming for batting 500, okay? Of course. But, like, it is just better to, like, kind of diversify your money a little bit. Like, diversify the risk a bit. And then we'll go from there.
Because you do get those deals that no matter what you do is something is always going to happen.
Yeah, it just, that's how it goes.
Because each house is just completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So, I tell them, if you're actually worried about risk, then the better way of doing it is 2.
Right. What was the question that you couldn't answer for the guy?
Oh, he's like, if the property doesn't... appraise what you think it will, right? And we can only pull out, like, let's say, instead of pulling out 90, we can only pull out 80, right? How are we going to get that settled? And I was like,
like when it's time to refinance?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll probably just cut your check for half the amount, whatever we can get back out. And he's like, okay, so that rebalances the equity.
Right. I mean, because you guys are 50-50 partners, that makes sense.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're both taking on the risk, might as well split it down the middle.
Mm-hmm. So, instead of getting like $20,000 back from that house, you probably get 15.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you thought you could get 10 right back. Because the harmony gets paid up, right? So you have like 10 left. So you won't get all 20 back. You get 15 of it, but we're still back in equity balance.
Yeah, because they just need their money back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they do it. So I just didn't think about that. I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
For these from like the point of purchase, from day of closing till that refinance when they get their money back, like what's that? Our timeline average?
It's taking a little bit longer, more recently, because we really hit the gas on the rentals, so the process isn't very good the way I like it to. I always tell people 6 months. We're on month 7 right now. Some of those houses are like not great, but there's a lot of reasons for that. But like I really would aim for 6 months. It's kind of like right. Some of the lenders out there will do they'll do 6 month seasoning, not less, so like it kind of opens up the lending a little bit as well.
Yeah.
6 months, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you need 6 months anyways to get the terms.
Yeah. So like You can do these rentals a lot quicker, right? Just we have not been able to. So that's what we're like a month 7 right now.
And it's the biggest issue is the construction.
That's what I would say. Yeah, because
it always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, even people that don't believe, like, because we've had people like tell us, or investors, private investors, you know, we keep pushing back like the date when we're gonna be done, and then they never believe me, or you know, because I'm the one that deals with the management of the rehabs,
right.
And then they get onto their own. Like we had one of our investors, he renovated his office. He's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be done by, what did he say?
He said between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, it wasn't done until
April. So remember,
so then I was like, hey, do you believe me now?
Yeah.
So then he wasn't that honest about the project we were doing together because he did it himself, and it's like, yeah, 4 months over budget because their lease was ending. I think they had to be out by the end of January. So I think they moved in and it wasn't finished. Their office wasn't finished. He's like, yeah, we're gonna be all the way done for March Madness. We're gonna have like the tournament here. Still wasn't done. So I think April was finally like the grand opening.
I think that's the biggest variable, or like the biggest thing that can make or break a deal. The construction part, whether it's a rental or it's a rehab, just because it's going over budget or
it's really
taking it longer.
It's really only your source of unknown.
Yeah.
It's really it. Like for BRRRR strategy, the other part of the unknown is like the backside appraisal. But everything else, like you it's known, right? You know what your like hard money interest payments are, right? You know what the taxes are going to be, like, right? Within some narrow degree of freedom, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know basically everything about a house, like, right? What you don't know, the largest source of uncertainty is the house. Like, it's construction.
Yeah, because you don't know if once you open up a wall, termites or foundation issues, or you know, something happens with the plumbing and then it floods. Yeah.
So there's always going to be that kind of stuff, right? And so, you know, so I always, you know, someone to like, oh, I guarantee you've done this day. I'm just kind of like,
sure.
Okay.
I feel like every contract was like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then 14 months later.
Yeah.
14 months later.
Really, dude? Like,
yeah.
Oh, for those of you who aren't familiar with the BRRRR strategy, it stands for what? Buy, rehab, rent, refinance.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Because I know there's a group of in Chicago that's mostly like what they do.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Andrew Holmes, right? Like they push that strategy a lot.
Or do they?
I think so. Yeah.
Andrew Holmes.
Yeah.
I never heard.
It's like one of the biggest Chicago RIAs in there. And
oh, is it?
Yeah. It's called Chicago RIA.
Most, yeah. But there's like 4 RIAs or 3.
Oh, like the subgroups.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I guess as far as finding investors, you said just bigger pockets.
That's what we found. We found some through there too.
Yeah.
It's been mostly referral.
For you guys?
Yeah, we do a lot of Facebook.
People reach out to us too. Because
a
lot of networking events.
Okay.
Because what I tell people is like, somebody asked me the other day, it's like, how do you guys find your deals? And I'm like, well, we first started doing mostly hard money and and private money, a combination, right? And now we're mostly doing JVs.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how do you find these people with like all this money? And then I'm like, they either reach out to us or is somebody that we've known for a while.
Yeah. Put it out in the universe. Comes back.
And I was telling them like, hey, like you see me post a lot on Facebook that we're looking for money, or like that we post a lot of pictures, or that we post a lot of updates on the deals that we're doing. And it's not to brag, and it's not to like show off people. Oh, hey, look, this is what I'm doing, or I got this many deals going on.
Yeah.
It's a lot more strategic than just showing off. It's more about letting everybody know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I've had people reach out to me or come to some of the events that we host, and this guy was like, "Hey, like, I've been watching you for the last like 2 years on your Facebook. I want to partner with you guys. Like, I have X amount of money in the bank, and I've been watching you. I've seen how your business has progressed over the last couple of years, and I feel like I'm ready right now to invest with you guys." And I was telling this guy that asked me, I'm like, that's really all you got to do. Like, so he's been posting a lot lately.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's not to boast or it's not to show people off. It's more for raising awareness for what you do.
Yeah, it's raising awareness.
So I guess for money, would be either bigger pockets or referrals or people that What about finding deals? Like, how are you finding your
MLS.
deals now? Mostly MLS?
Only the MLS.
Only MLS?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing rentals, so they're not like...
Yeah, it's just a volume game.
Yeah.
You know? So every lead generation will work, right? It's just what it costs, anything, and what frequency are you working through, right? And what do you actually need, right?
So do you have like a certain search set up on the MLS? Or do you just like look and they're all...
Well, anything that's listed below 75K in my areas that I look for, I'll take a look. You know, that's what comes in. And a single family detached, that kind of stuff, right?
So you have alerts set up that every time something goes on the market, you know?
Yeah. So like it's, I just take a look, you know, photos. I kind of run like, you know, estimates kind of off of photos, right? And then I throw a contract in essentially, right?
Yeah.
So if we get a bite back, then I'll go take a look at it. And within the like 1 or 2 days before this money's deposited, so I'll go take a look at it. Either me or my partner, actually.
So all your, let's say your last 5 deals, all MLS.
All the deals.
All like.
So
Okay.
I've only ever bought one from wholesale in my first deal ever.
Right, and then
Everything else.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because somebody else, you know, people always ask us that, like, where do you get your deals? And then like, honestly, I've run through like the last 5 deals, and it's either referral or MLS.
Yeah.
It may be one that we got off of direct mail.
Okay.
But it's...
And the MLS is free. Like, you know, and like networking, knowing people, that's also basically free.
Because there's the people always say, like, if, you know, when you find something on the MLS, multiple people have already looked at it, and it might not even be a deal, but...
And that might be true, but the point is, like, it's a frequency game, right? If you're okay with every 20 properties you look at, you get 1 out of them, right? If you're okay with that, right? Then okay. Like, I don't need a ton of deals to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need few, you know what I'm saying? Like a few deals, and I'm okay with that kind of trade-off for frequency versus cost.
And it's also, if that's the only thing that you do, you're actually really on top of it. Because you could be doing 10 marketing strategies and be half-assed on all of them, so you're not going to get any deals.
Yeah, and they cost money. They cost time and all that. Right?
How many deals do you probably look at in a month?
I slowed down just for this, but when we were looking stuff for back in, like, let's say, because all these properties that we have now, we bought March and April, right? So we bought a whole package March and April, right? But, you know, like, let's say, like, in January when I was looking, right? I don't know, I probably looked through, you know, like, probably 5 a day.
What, in person or you mean like online?
Online. Yeah. And then I only take a look at them after we got...
In person.
Well,
forever.
Well, no, so I'm asking, like, how many in person did you actually, like, check
only
out?
after we got a contract on them. So we've let it go of a few. But I don't take a look at them until we have an offer out there, right? It started changing a little bit towards the end. Like,
so you'll submit blind offers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, like, at the end, Gino would actually go out there and take a look at the house before we sent it in. I don't really understand why, but, you know.
So it's like a rental, you know what the numbers are, you know how much rehab you're going to put into it.
Plus, I mean, that's your market, you know.
Yeah, you kind of know at some point.
Right.
Now, in the beginning, we didn't know all these other markets, right? So we were, you know, it was truly a bit blind, but it's fine. Like, we have a lot of projects like close to there, so it wasn't that big a deal anyway. And, at the end, we stopped doing blind offers, not for any particular reason. It's just Gino was out in that area, and I'd be like, "Oh, here's some deals." She's like, "Okay, I'll go take a look at them while I'm down there," and then he'd take a look at them because he had the code and everything, right? So you take a look at them. And then he'd be like, "Yeah, okay, go shoot the offer." Like, it wasn't like a thing that we're like, "Okay, first we're gonna go see the property first, and then we'll, like, you know." It wasn't anything like too so calculated like that. We were just like, "Oh, we're in the area. Let's go take a look." If you like it, cool, send the offer. You know what I'm saying?
Because you're a broker too. Is he a? Okay.
He's not a broker, no. I'm a broker.
Okay. Do you find any sort of benefit to being an investor and a broker at this simultaneously, or because I know some people say, like, don't do it, others say, yeah, do it. So I kind of...
You just gotta disclose.
Yeah.
The main thing. You gotta let people know.
Plus, if you're looking at properties, you could actually get in.
Yeah.
You don't have to go with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've had deals that I want to look at, but I can't go until a realtor is available.
Yeah.
And then by that time, maybe somebody else has already looked at it, and, you know. take it away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've gone to others and the lockbox is gone, or somebody took the key.
Yeah, people play games like that all the time. Yeah,
it's like obviously that somebody came before me, liked it, and like, fuck it, I'm gonna take the key, so nobody else looks at it.
Yeah. It's
so I would say I guess it does give you a little bit of advantage.
A little bit. I mean, not much though, honestly. Like either way was fine. Like I was investing before I had my license, and I'm investing since. It's very a little different though. So.
I mean, also I think because if you get a lot of off-market leads like we do, it also has a benefit in that you not only have the option to buy it as an investor, but if it might be one of those houses that doesn't necessarily need a lot of work, you can list it and you still monetize a lead.
Right. So if you can, I think someone said like anytime money. You could touch money. You should find a way to get some of that. Essentially, like not in a sleazy way, but like what I'm saying, like yeah, exactly. If that particularly didn't fit in this one peg, right? I just have another peg that could.
Yeah, because I mean we've had a lot of leads like that where I've talked on the phone with people and they're like, oh, I think it's too pretty, so we can't do anything with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And is it true? And if you don't have a license, then you really can't do anything with it, right? Because it doesn't need work. You could maybe just get a cleaning crew in there, clean it up, and then you can just put it right up for sale right away. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I guess we're kind of at the hour now. I guess to kind of wrap up, I guess we kind of already went over this, but what would you advise somebody who's trying to get started and invest? It doesn't have to be with just the contracting side, or maybe like on the finance side, or
I would the first thing I would do is get your own fiscal house in order. Start saving. Put 10% away, 20% away. Just your take home pay immediately, right? So that's the first thing you can be doing, right? Because you're gonna need reserves. Like you do this whole like 100% money down kind of stuff. Like it's just not a good way of doing this business. You need something reserved because something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's life. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So just have something on the side, and then I would probably just buy a house that's fully done, no tenant in there, right? Just like a vacant place that's done, it looks nice, and then just like you said, clean it, and then put a tenant in there, right? And then start there, or a house hack, one of the two, right? Start there, and then I would tell people who are trying in this game for the first 4 properties, buy them, don't do any work, and just put a tenant in there, right? Don't do any work.
Whether your end goal is to do rehabs or rentals,
I don't care what you want. Yeah, I don't care what you want to do later. But that's like, if you want to be a wholesaler, whatever, right? But start with rentals. Don't do any work to them. Just on the management side, right? Then from deals 5 to 7, right? Do like 15 grand less, just cosmetics. Like maybe the most I would like want you to do is like the floors. You know what I'm saying? Like the most. So
$1,500.
Yeah, right. So
floors and paint.
Yeah. So just paints, floors, appliances, like I won't even do paint the cabinets as most I let you do in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? And then like maybe a couple refreshables.
Change the handles, kind of.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff, right? From 5 to 7, right? From 7 to 10, from 8 to 10, right? Then I would let you do like up to 20 grand of work, like a normal rental rehab, like a bit of tile in the bathrooms, like flooring, new kitchen, things like that, right? And then from there, from whatever you want to do from 11 on. Right? Whatever. Because now you've managed tenants, you have money coming in, right? You've clearly figured out your finances, right? You didn't information overload yourself, right? Because that's another thing. Like you're taking a little bit, you're separating out the hazards, right? From like, DMV. So like, because management is its own thing, construction is its own thing, and financing kind of is its own thing, right?
Right.
You're going to have financing no matter what you do, right? So that's fine. But like, if you can separate the management piece from the construction piece, and just learn, because each of those is its own discipline. Just learn those disciplines, like management first, right, and then construction later. I think you have a much better time of like, not drinking out of a fire hose essentially.
Yeah, not drowning.
Yeah, no, because in the beginning it's tough, right? Like
by deal 10, you should have an idea of how to deal with contractors, how to estimate repairs,
and you have money coming in,
and you have money coming in.
You have some equity. Some assets.
Awesome, man. Thanks for being on the podcast. That was some good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Till next time, guys.
Hey guys, this is Ricardo again. Before you head off, first, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Second, for show notes and links, head over to profitsoverwages.co. Third, on the next episode of the podcast, we'll sit down with West Point graduate, former U.S. Army officer, and the founder and CEO of Green Bay Homes, Kirby Atwell. And we'll talk about investing with a purpose and providing work and housing to veterans while being eco-friendly. Lastly, please don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. Not only do we read every review, but positive reviews also help us reach more people. Until next time.